Hey, what's going on everyone? It's the RC Genius. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace a spur gear in a RC car transmission. Now this is my Traxxas Son of a Digger truck. It's actually a Scully truck with a Son of a Digger body on it. But I actually don't have any spur gear problems with the truck right now. But this truck I'm using as a demonstration of how to replace a spur gear, because since I've kind of gotten better at the RC hobby, I really don't strip any spur gear, so I don't really know when I would be able to make this video. So I'm just going to do this video for demonstration purposes, and you will definitely get the point on how to do it, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the tire off. We're going to need the right rear tire off of this truck. Now, stripping a spur gear can happen especially to new drivers when they're out taking their RC car and they're going a little bit hard with it, and they decide that they want to go forwards and reverse really fast all the time, back and forth, doing a lot of short stops and all that. And while it's cool, you can definitely strip the plastic gear pretty easily, so you have to just be aware that it can happen. So I'm just taking off this plastic transmission cover here. I just dropped the screwdriver. Now, we're not really going deep into the transmission, but, we're just going, right here. So this is, the big plastic gear right here is called your spur gear. And then the little metal gear is your pinion gear. Now, that's what's attached to the motor. So what we're going to do when you want to replace the spur gear is you want to take your wrench that you used to take off the tire, and you're going to hold the spur gear with your hand and twist the nut to the left to loosen it. Then you can either hold the axle with your other hand, or you can have someone hold it for you. But what I do, since I'm usually always working on these by myself, I take just a little Allen wrench and I stick it inside the slipper clutch until I feel it lock into itself. So right there, and now I can finish taking off the spur gear. Take off the little nut that's right here, take off the spring, and then the spur gear comes right off. Now under here, this little disc that comes off here, and then that plate right there, those are parts of the slipper clutch, and this pad right here is very important because that's what your brakes use. That's the brake disc. So we're just going to put that back on right there. We don't have to do it right now, but yeah. Now back here on the other side of the spur gear is the brake pads. You always want to check these every now and then because you never know when you might need to replace them. I do usually keep some brake pads in the shop. Now this little water sealed bearing right here, I'm just going to use the end of my screwdriver to pop that out, and it comes out pretty easily. So right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to need an Allen wrench to take off these three screws right here. Alright, so now I've got the three screws out. Now I'm just going to use my screwdriver to push on the little plate right here on this side so it can be pushed out the other end. Just like that. And now our slipper clutch end is right here. The brake pads are on the other side, and then right here is just your plain spur gear, and you can replace that. Now the teeth right here, let me get the camera to focus so you can see it really well, because this is a small little detail. These little teeth are what gets stripped, and since they're plastic, they strip pretty easily. Now right there, that's just a little bit of rust where the spur gear and the pinion gear were sitting together for a while, because I haven't really used this truck in a while. I don't remember the last time I used it in one of my videos that I can tell you guys. I probably haven't used it since that video with Pro Legends, honestly. I can't really remember. But anyway, ow. I just banged my knee really hard on the desk. Anyway, so right here, these teeth will get stripped, and I don't really see any wear and tear on this one. I don't really have one, I don't think, that I can show you guys. Maybe there's one over here. Yeah. So you see, this is demonstration of what can happen. See how it's all stripped and flat there. So, to put the spur gear back together, you're just going to put it back together just how you took it off. So, you know, put the brake pad and slipper clutch piece back on, put the 3 little screws back on, put the bearing back inside, and then the next step is going to be lining the spur gear up with the pinion gear, and that is the part that you don't want to mess up. So let me tighten these 3. Alright, now that I've tightened those, you want to make sure that what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle the camera up a little bit, and I'm going to hold the truck like this so that way this slipper clutch goes back on correctly without coming off. I have to put the bearing back in. There we go. Now I'm going to put the spur gear back on just like that. Slide the spring on and slide the bolt. Well, screw the bolt on. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with taking it off. I'm going to stick my little Allen wrench in there. I can set this back down now. I'm going to stick the little Allen wrench back in, and then I'm going to just turn it the other way. Now I've got it. Now once you get it tight enough, then you can hand tighten it just like that. And now what you want to do, something that you usually wouldn't do, is you want to turn the bolt back to the left about 1/4 of a turn. So I'm just going to turn it a tiny bit, just like that. And now you're good. Now, to line up the spur gear with the pinion gear, right now it's perfectly aligned because I didn't move the pinion gear. But if these 2 screws on the motor were to get loose and then your pinion gear moves around, you're going to want to make sure that you line this up right. So right here, if you have it set up correctly, you should have a tiny little bit of movement. You can kind of just barely see it. It's just a tiny bit of movement. But it's just not too tight, not too loose. I'm not having any struggle spinning the spur gear, and it's also not too easy to spin the spur gear. You want it to be right in the middle, and that's how you know that you have a good connection. Now, something else you can do if you don't want to take any risks, you can take a piece of notebook paper that's like really thin, stick it right in between there, and then close the gap. Just push the motor to the spur gear, and the notebook paper will get caught inside, and then just spin the spur gear till the notebook paper slides out, and then you should have a pretty good connection right there. So then we're just going to put the cover back onto the transmission. Just like that. Here's 1 screw. And then there's number 2. I'm going to put the tire back on, put the tire nut on, tighten that. And then the last step to making sure that you did a good job is just roll the truck along a table, and if it sounds pretty much like what it would sound like when you usually would drive it, then you pretty much did it. And also, just in case you're wondering, the key to knowing that you have a slipper clutch, or not a slipper clutch, a spur gear problem. The key to knowing when you have a spur gear problem is you'll hear it clicking when you're driving with the accelerator going. And that clicking is kind of a dead giveaway that you've got a tooth that's been worn down. So that's going to be it. I hope you guys found this helpful. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment down below what you'd like to see next. I do have a possible build series coming up. I'm not making any promises, but I might be able to do a build series. And please share my videos, and please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the RC Genius.